The Marvel Universe is like a fantastical building full of endless possibilities. Each work is a unique cornerstone. In the last episode, we explored the superhero legend started by Iron Man. This time, the Incredible Hulk will take us into another awe-inspiring world. The Hulk, a green giant with boundless rage and immense power, has a story full of struggle and adventure. In this episode, how will he face his destiny, and what sparks will fly? Let's find out together. Every day, Hulk gets slapped twice but never retaliates. Instead, he calms himself with deep breaths, seemingly restraining something. Just as he adjusts, he gets slapped again. It's clear he's angry, with his heart rate soaring to 146, so he quickly tells the other person to stop, feeling that another hit could lead to something terrible. In life, she is surprisingly gentle. Even when a bully deliberately bumps into her, she never speaks up, just quietly changes into her work clothes and starts monotonously working. At these times, her female colleague sends her flirtatious glances, but she chooses to ignore them. Yet, when her colleague is in trouble, she's always the first to step up. She's a strange person. Even stranger, the boss repeatedly tries to make her permanent, but she politely declines, saying temporary work is fine. Then, she accidentally cuts her hand, and a drop of blood falls through layers of obstacles, landing on the production line. She suddenly panics, urgently calls to stop the line, and rushes down the stairs. Luckily, she finds the drop of blood, quickly takes out a handkerchief to carefully wipe it away, then applies glue to the wound until it stops bleeding, finally relieved. But she doesn't know that a bottle with her blood is heading to its next destination. The bottle is filled with a drink, packed, and exported to the US, ending up in Mr. Lee's hands, who takes just a sip, and dies instantly. The news spreads, and General Rogers immediately forms a capture team. Thus begins a story of escape. When a genius physicist is tricked by the military into participating in human experiments, turning into a monster driven by rage, what can he do? When he loses control and vents his anger on equipment, accidentally hurting his beloved girlfriend, what can he do? When he falls into deep guilt, decides to leave without a word, and goes into exile, only to be internationally hunted by the military to be used as a weapon, what can he do? He just wants to be an ordinary person, but once his stress level exceeds 20, he uncontrollably turns into a monster. Once he exceeds 20, he turns into a monster uncontrollably. Without solving this, he can't reunite with his loved one. He contacted Mr. Blue via the dark web for a cure. Mr. Blue sent a small white flower, saying it could suppress the virus. Banner got to work, cutting petals, adding them to disinfectant, grinding to get a green extract, then processing and distilling it. A bottle of antidote was made. Next was the blood test. He added a few drops of antidote, then observed under a microscope. The green cells turned red, showing the antidote worked, but before celebrating, the cells rioted and swelled, breaking the slide. The experiment failed again. The good news is her blood's gamma levels decreased. Mr. Blue said a complete cure is possible, but needs original data. Banner just had his hopes reignited, only to be dashed again because the data wasn't in her hands. Worse, the military had already found her hideout without her noticing. They broke in with a bomb and fired a round of tranquilizers, only to find it empty. It turned out Banner had already hidden at a female colleague's house. Seeing the military was led away, she immediately ran in the opposite direction, only to run into the experienced Brown. What followed was a chase. With Banner's knowledge of the terrain, he was familiar with all the escape routes, even knowing when people hung their clothes out to dry. The leading Special Forces soldier became the first unlucky one. Banner didn't dare relax and continued to skillfully navigate the rooftops. But completely shaking them off was no easy task, as he had to stop to rest after a while. The intense running had his heart rate soaring to 175, so he quickly used abdominal breathing to stabilize it. Once his heart rate calmed a bit, he continued running. He barely escaped the chase, only to run into that bully again. What a small world. The bully threw a punch, but he easily dodged it, taking down 2 henchmen in the process, then walked away. He planned to rest at a factory, but the bully wouldn't let up, cornering Banner and throwing his computer. At this point, Banner's anger reached its peak. He warned the bully to run, but the bully didn't know when to quit. So, with one punch, he sent the bully flying several meters until he crashed into an iron gate and fell to the ground, along with 2 henchmen. The 2 guys saw what happened and ran, but one didn't get far before it was just me left. At this moment, the special forces were closing in. However, the tranquilizer darts hit Hulk and didn't even make him itch. Hulk got angry again and instantly took out a special forces soldier. Seeing this, everyone quickly switched to real bullets, but not only did they fail to hurt him, they got one of their own killed. Then the captain threw a high explosive grenade, which landed right at Hulk's feet. After the explosion, everyone thought the target was dealt with. However, the next second, a massive soda can, weighing several tons, charged forward like a wild horse, instantly crushing 2 people. The captain, seeing he was about to become a victim, quickly dodged. The 2 cans collided, and soda splashed everywhere. The wolf thought it was just a simple hunting game, but now it seemed they had become the prey. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got, and he kept shooting at Hulk. He witnessed a scene he would never forget. A face filled with extreme anger. The dark green pupils were chilling. As he was stunned, Hulk picked up a forklift and threw it at him. Luckily, he dodged in time, or he would have been a pile of mush. Hulk didn't pursue further but smashed through the wall and ran out, leaving an angry roar echoing through the forest. When Banner regained consciousness, he was deep in the mountains. From the locals, he learned he was in Guatemala. He couldn't believe he had traveled 15,000 kilometers overnight. But now wasn't the time to be shocked. He needed to get the data quickly. He then hitched a ride to a nearby town. Penniless, he walked barefoot on the gravel road, resting wherever he could, sometimes waking from nightmares. Hungry, he picked up vegetable leaves at the market. The once proud genius was now in rags, mistaken for a beggar by a little boy. It was ironic, but Banner wasn't one to complain. He used the money to buy the largest pair of pants and then set off on foot to his destination. The 160-kilometer journey took him less than 17 days, just to reunite with his girlfriend sooner. But reality hit him hard when he found all his data was gone, meaning he would have to live on the run. As he was about to leave, he accidentally ran into someone. Banner couldn't shake off the psychological shadow from last time, so he hid behind a dumpster, trying not to make a sound. He walked alone in the rainy night. They say short pain is better than long pain, but who knows how painful short pain really is. This is a car. The car stopped behind him. It was Betty who had chased after him. Their eyes met, and all the longing melted into this embrace. Then Betty gave him a USB drive containing the information he had been desperately searching for. But just as they were about to enjoy a moment of passion, a heart monitor urgently stopped them. If they continued, the Hulk might emerge, so they had to sleep in separate rooms. It was a sleepless night, but they weren't the only ones awake. Of course, there was also Blonsky. To increase the chances of capturing Banner, General Ross injected him with super soldier serum. Soon, the military found them, and Banner was on the run again. But now, he was just a mortal man. How could he outrun a super soldier squad? With no way out, Banner ran into a library. Luckily, the bookshelves provided cover, allowing him to catch his breath. He took out the USB drive and, without hesitation, swallowed it despite the pain. But just as he reached the overpass, he was blocked. There were pursuers in front and behind. No way up, no way down. Worse, the soldiers outside fired 2 tear gas canisters inside. Smoke filled the overpass instantly. He quickly took off his clothes to cover his mouth and nose. Looking up, he saw the shadow of his girlfriend being captured. Banner instantly lost his mind. However, the invincible Hulk was. Come. With a roar, he shook them to their core. The general immediately ordered to fire. Bullets rained down on Hulk, but he didn't dodge. Instead, he charged forward. With a savage tackle, he flipped an armored vehicle, then stopped abruptly to crash into another. At this moment, Hulk was like a god descending. The armored vehicles, weighing tens of tons, were like toys in his hands. In no time, he crumpled them into a ball and tossed them lightly. It was clear Hulk would be a great bowler. Everyone was terrified, except for Blonsky, who had a slight smile. He grabbed a rocket launcher from a comrade and pulled the trigger. But even such powerful firepower only made Hulk stagger. Hulk casually tore off 2 steel plates to block the attack, and it only fueled his rage. However, the modified Blonsky remained. Hulk dodged Bone Hulk's attacks easily, leaving him at a loss. But just because Hulk couldn't do anything doesn't mean Brown couldn't. Brown pushed off and sprinted away. Hulk wanted to take him down, unaware of the trap. 2 sonic cannons attacked him, pinning him. The sound waves gave him a headache. His girlfriend screamed his name. Hulk's eyes were filled with anger and a desire to protect. He struggled up, raised a shield to block the sound waves, and split a cannon in 2. Then he leapt and crushed the other. But another threat arose. A helicopter was dispatched. Brown, trying to buy time, taunted, "Is that all you've got?" Hulk responded with a kick. Down he went, his fate uncertain. The general ordered a retreat. Hulk softened at the sight of his girlfriend, but a helicopter roared in, firing. Hulk shielded his girlfriend, then hurled his shield, taking it down. The helicopter crashed, exploding, engulfing them in flames. The general didn't care about Hulk's fate but was concerned about his fish. As the flames subsided, Hulk rose, looking at the fish with worry, as if saying he wouldn't let them get away if anything happened. The 2 disappeared into the smoke. That night, in the rain, Hulk took Betty to a cave. He was cautious like a sneaky child. When Betty opened her eyes, she hugged Hulk, startling him and causing him to bump his head. He quickly put his hands on his hips to hide his embarrassment. Betty invited him in to escape the rain, but lightning struck behind him. Hulk tensed up, grabbed a rock, and threw it into the sky, followed by a roar. Despite being on the verge of exposure, he shielded Betty. With her calming presence, Hulk relaxed. It was surprising to see such a gentle side to this giant. They snuggled together and slept through the night. To solve the mutation issue, they took the USB to find Mr. Blue. Before leaving, Banner ditched all electronics, even his bank card, to avoid military tracking. But with just $40, how could they escape? Betty had an idea. She pawned a photo from her mom. But Banner made a fatal mistake by emailing Mr. Blue, which the military intercepted. They quickly found Mr. Blue's info. Worse, Blonsky, once crippled by Hulk, recovered overnight. General Ross asked how he felt, and it was clear Hulk had awakened his competitive spirit. So, he underwent a second transformation. But something went wrong, and he became thin with a terrifying look. Banner didn't know any of this. By then, he had found Mr. Blue, who was a scientist and a disciple of the Thunder King, Master Yam. Mr. Blue's treatment was simple and brutal. He pressed an electric shock device to Banner's forehead, causing pain that spiked his blood pressure and awakened Hulk's consciousness. Banner's veins bulged, his frail body expanded, and his blood turned dark green. Banner's consciousness faded, replaced by Hulk's dragon-like muscles. The restraints broke easily. Mr. Blue was so amazed he forgot his purpose. As Hulk grew, the lab table couldn't support him. Seeing him become uncontrollable, Betty jumped on him, soothing him while urging Mr. Blue to proceed. Fortunately, Mr. Blue snapped back and activated the detox program. The antidote was injected into Hulk, and his body shrank back to Banner's form. But here's the problem. Is Hulk erased, or just suppressed? No one knows. Regardless, the military must not get Banner's blood, or they'll create countless Hulks. Banner demanded Mr. Blue destroy the blood samples, leading to a heated argument. Unbeknownst to them, the military had locked onto them. A tranquilizer hit Banner, making him weak. At that moment, Blonsky arrived, looking at the defeated Banner with anger. He had injected himself with the super serum twice, all to fight Hulk, but now it was for nothing. Soon, Banner was taken by the military, but Blonsky was missing. He wasn't ready to give up and forced Mr. Blue to inject him with Banner's serum. Mr. Blue saw Blonsky had been modified. Mixing them could create a disaster, but that's what Blonsky wanted. They agreed, and with gamma rays, Blonsky went wild, evolving into a new monster. He was bigger, with strange bones on his back. Mr. Blue was knocked down, but no one expected Banner's blood mixed in him. He'd become Hulk's future enemy. Blonsky turned into something scarier than Hulk. Yes, he became Abomination. The rocket in his hand was just a toy. Now, his eyes were full of endless killing as he wreaked havoc on the streets, showing his brutal nature. Citizens and soldiers had no choice but to flee. He lifted a car and smashed it at the soldiers. The live broadcast cut off. Only then did General Ross realize his mistake. Helpless, he ordered a retreat. At this critical moment, Banner stepped up. Whether he could awaken Hulk or not, he was ready to fight. He left a deep lift behind and fell back. Banner crashed into the ground, creating a huge crater. Everyone thought Banner had sacrificed himself. But then, a massive fist burst through. It was Hulk. His roar drew Abomination's attention. What followed was a battle between giants. Abomination charged, and Hulk wasn't backing down. As they got closer, the ground shook and the air grew heavy. Almost at the same time, they both leapt, but there was still a size difference. There was a gap, and with one move, Hulk was at a disadvantage. Abomination attacked, sending Hulk flying hundreds of meters. The antidote seemed to weaken Hulk, but facing Abomination's attack, he quickly got spirited and tore a police car apart. The steel gauntlet crazily pounded on Zheng Wu's forehead, knocking him to the ground after a few rounds. But he wasn't satisfied, so he mounted Zheng Wu and continued a wild barrage. Even the steel gauntlet couldn't withstand such an attack. Unexpectedly, this fierce assault didn't harm Zheng Wu at all. Then he taunted, "Is that all you've got?" But unlike last time, this time it was Hulk who got kicked away. Just as Zheng Wu was about to press the advantage, General Roger interfered. He immediately turned his attention to take down the helicopter first. At this moment, Hulk also caught up. Zheng Wu leapt, and the two started fighting midair. But after this tussle, the helicopter was about to fail and had to make an emergency landing. Inside were not only General Roger but also Betty. Hulk was about to check on them but was blocked and driven away by Abomination. It's like a toad crawling on your foot, not biting but still annoying. The brawl resumed, but Hulk was pinned down, unable to move as his neck was tightly held. He struggled desperately, but Abomination countered every move. At this point, Hulk was powerless, and his chest was cut by bone spurs. Just as he was in dire straits, Betty's appearance reignited his fighting spirit. He began to fight back fiercely, grabbing Abomination's wrist and breaking free, then knocking him out. However, an electric current ignited gasoline, and raging flames rushed towards Betty. Seeing she was about to be engulfed, Hulk clapped his arms, creating a strong gust that extinguished the fire, saving Betty. But as one crisis ended, another began. Abomination swung a chain, sending Hulk flying. As he got up, he was knocked down again. Abomination arrogantly moved to finish Betty, but the ground cracked under his feet, causing him to lose his grip on the chain. It fell, and in free fall, it hit Abomination, dazing him. Hulk seized the opportunity to grab it. Hulk tightly wrapped the chain around his neck. Seeing him at death's door, still defiant, he pulled out the bone from his elbow and stabbed it fiercely into his chest. After a fierce struggle, Zheng Wu was too weak to resist, and Hulk roared, ready to dissect his little brother. Betty didn't want him to become a bloodthirsty monster. Though Hulk was quick to anger, he couldn't resist Betty's destruction. He let go of Zheng Wu, stomped on his stomach, as if saying, "You're unworthy of power," then howled to the sky, unsure if it was sweat or tears on his face. Hulk knew deep down that no matter how many people he saved, he'd always be seen as an outsider, but Betty wasn't one of those people. Realizing he could never be ordinary meant he could never be with Betty. Then she left, twisting through the skyscraper-filled town. Maybe leaving the city was her best choice. Months later, Banner appeared in Canada's deep forests. She redeemed the necklace and sent it to Betty anonymously. For months, she focused on her practice, knowing the best way to coexist with Hulk was not to meet but to coexist. We saw Hulk's growth and struggle, the thrilling power showdown still vivid. The Marvel Universe's adventures never stop. The next episode, Iron Man 2, is coming soon. What challenges will Tony Stark face in the new story? What fascinating interactions will occur between him and other superheroes? Stay tuned for more excitement.
Yeah.